Compact SUVs are almost as popular as hand sanitizer these days. And each month, the Honda CR-V and Toyota RAV4 battle for the slot of compact SUV favorite. With hybrids in each model's lineup, there's even more to choose from. I'm Jennifer Geiger.
And I'm Brian Normile. We tested top trims of these two SUVs, the Honda CR-V Hybrid Touring and the Toyota RAV4 Hybrid Limited, in a variety of categories. We measured fuel economy, cargo space, interior quality, and driving impressions as well. It was a close contest, but in the end we were able to determine a winner.
There's a lot to like about these hybrid compact SUVs, but ultimately the RAV4 came out ahead. Here are several ways where it bested the Honda CR-V and a few areas where it lagged behind. Where the RAV4 really stood out was going and stopping. Both of the models are really well matched in terms of horsepower, but the RAV4 felt so much quicker off the line with a much more linear power delivery, and overall just felt a lot faster than the CR-V.
Absolutely. I mean, the CR-V didn't necessarily feel slow as much as the RAV4 felt quick, but the CR-V definitely takes longer to build up power, and it just feels slower off the line.
Yes, totally. Braking is another area where the RAV4 really stood out. Hybrid brakes often have that kind of firm brick-like feeling, and Toyota did a really good job disguising that in this car. It still doesn't feel as natural as normal brakes and non-hybrid brakes, but it felt more natural than the CR-V's mushy pedal.
Yeah, I was a little bit harsher than you, I think, on the brakes here. Definitely mushy feel in the CR-V, a little bit more natural in the RAV4, but still just not really a pleasant feeling compared to non-hybrid cars, so not my favorite part of these.
One of the main reasons people buy hybrids is obviously fuel economy, and here again the RAV4 scored much better than the CR-V during our mileage drive.
Yeah, definitely. Over our about 165 miles of mixed city and highway driving, both of them turned in ratings over 40 miles per gallon, but the RAV4 definitely came out ahead, which matched its EPA ratings.
One thing hybrid shoppers should be aware of is both of these models are loud, but in different ways. The RAV4 was really loud on just regular acceleration from a stop. The CR-V, it started getting really loud on highway passing.
And another area the RAV4 stood out was with its driving modes. Sport actually felt sporty, and Eco felt like it was actually prioritizing fuel efficiency. In the CR-V, it didn't really change anything.
Yeah, I mean, people are buying these to save fuel, but unfortunately using the eco mode often feels like a drag. Handling is probably not the main reason people are buying one of these cars, but this is another area where the RAV4 really stood out. It stayed more composed in corners, it had firmer, more direct steering, and it really just felt overall more maneuverable than the CR-V.
Absolutely. It definitely seemed like the CR-V prioritizes comfort more than sportiness. So it does have numb handling compared to the RAV4, but it also has better composure over bumps and imperfections and a more comfortable ride.
Yeah, in terms of comfort, the RAV4 definitely does not prioritize ride comfort. It is firmer over bumps, there's a lot more impact harshness, and just overall the ride is just a lot more uncomfortable than the CR-Vs. Inside, another area where the RAV4 really stood out was with its controls. This screen sits really nice and high on the dash. It's kind of dated and clunky looking, but it works a lot better than the CR-Vs. It's got straightforward menus, it's really responsive to the touch, and it just has more physical buttons, making it easier to use. I love the significant power and volume knob and the tune and scroll knob.
Yeah, and in the CR-V, it's pretty much the opposite. So the presentation of the instrument panel and the multimedia screen looks great, doesn't function so well. The menus are confusing, the screen here is slow to respond to things, and to top it all off, you get this push-button gear selector, which can be kind of confusing, whereas the RAV4 still has the straightforward lever method.
That gear selector took me a while to get used to.
Yeah, and another thing that took me a while to get used to, actually, is the fact that this multimedia system only has a volume knob, no tuning knob, and the volume knob is so close to some of the climate controls that I often found myself adjusting climate when I meant to turn up or down the radio.
It overall felt really clumsy to me too.
One of the categories the CR-V actually stood out in was interior quality. It's got some real leather, it's got convincing fake wood trim, but it visually looks nice. And it's just overall a very comfortable place to be. It's got a little bit more rear leg room. And I found up front, I had a little bit more leg room compared to the RAV4, where the center console would actually sort of bang into my knee and it just wasn't that comfortable.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the CR-V's cabin is a lot classier looking in terms of the materials, and the RAV4's cabin is fine, it's average, it's just nothing really stands out as extra. And also that rear legroom situation, it's significant, and it definitely felt more comfortable in the back seat in the CR-V.
Yeah, and based on our measurements, it actually costs you a tiny bit in cargo space, but nothing really noticeable. I mean, I didn't open up the back of the CR-V and go, oh no, that's a tiny cargo area. It's just a tiny little bit less than what we measured in the RAV4.
Right.
In cabin storage, the CR-V also came out a little bit ahead. It's got this nifty little configurable center console with some deep storage and some sliding spaces. It's also open at the front, which concerns me a little about putting stuff in and then having it fly forward if you come to an abrupt stop, but it's just a little bit more utilitarian than what you find in the RAV4.
Yeah, I really like that space. I like that it was big. I like that it was configurable with the kind of sliding panels. I could put a small purse in there, which was nice. The RAV4's is fine. It's deep, but it's just, again, it's just average. It's not really remarkable.
Yeah, that seems to be the story of the RAV4's interior. The CR-V also came out ahead in value. It's about $38,000, whereas the RAV4 came in at over $42,000. And the CR-V also has a few standard features that were optional on the RAV4, like a hands-free power liftgate and a moonroof.
The RAV4 price quickly escalated once you added extras. In safety though, it did have more features than the CR-V, like the 360-degree camera, which was optional, and the rear braking, which was part of its standard safety package.
And part of the RAV4's higher price was due to a lot of dealer add-ons. It had about $1,500 worth, including things like the roof rails, the cargo mats, the floor mats, some of the blacked out badging. But even without that factored in, it was still more expensive than the CR-V, which is sort of a mono-spec trim.
True. So in the end, the RAV4 won the challenge, but it was actually pretty close in a lot of categories. But what hybrid shoppers should know is that in all of the categories that they care about, like acceleration, braking, and fuel economy, the RAV4 won pretty handily.
Yeah, the CR-V held its own, but it won in categories like value and interior and things like that. So it's not a bad choice, we just think the RAV4 is better.
Yeah. For the full story and all the rankings on these two cars, head over to Cars.com.